Breaking. Princess Leonor's emotional goodbye to Prince Christian leaves Europe in tears. Crown heartbreak. It began quietly. The sun was just beginning to dip behind the horizon over Madrid, casting the Zarzuela Palace in shades of amber and gold. Outside, the city hummed with life, oblivious to the silent storm that was about to unfold within the palace walls. For the world, it was merely another evening of royal duty, diplomacy, and ceremony. But for Princess Leonor of Spain and Prince Christian of Denmark, it was a moment that would change everything. Two young heirs, two futures intertwined, two hearts caught between the weight of crowns and the quiet pull of something far more personal. From the outside, everything looked perfect. Cameras flashed, courtiers whispered, royal protocol was followed to the letter. But inside, behind heavy doors and in the stillness of the palace gardens, a farewell was quietly being prepared, a goodbye not just of days or months, but of stolen moments, whispered confessions, and the kind of intimacy that could never be made public. Princess Leonor had spent the morning finishing her final duties before departing for the military academy. Every step she took, every salute she gave, was practiced, precise, and graceful. But her heart was elsewhere. Her thoughts kept drifting to a single name, Christian. The note had arrived the night before, tucked discreetly beneath her door. Simple, elegant, unmistakable. Madrid. Friday evening. The gardens. One last walk. She had read it again and again, her fingers tracing the neat handwriting, a mix of anticipation and anxiety pressing in on her chest. Tonight, she would see him, perhaps for the last time before duty demanded they part ways. Hours later, she walked through the palace gardens, her navy coat brushing against the dewy grass. The setting sun reflected in the marble fountains, sending fragments of light dancing across the walls. The world seemed to hold its breath. And then, there he was. Prince Christian. Calm, tall, imposing in presence yet soft in gaze. His eyes sought hers across the distance, and in that instant, time slowed. The orchestra of the palace bells and the distant city noises faded. It was as though the universe had paused to witness this moment, a fleeting, perfect collision of two hearts. "Leonor," he said, his voice low, measured, yet tinged with the tremor of restrained emotion. She managed a small, tremulous smile. "Christian, I came," she whispered. "Good," he replied simply. "I didn't want this to end without words." Their footsteps crunched softly on the gravel paths, echoing in the quiet evening. Every step was heavy with the weight of unspoken feelings. They walked side by side, careful to remain in the shadows, away from the prying eyes of palace aides and the relentless lens of cameras. For months, their connection had been a series of stolen moments, quiet glances at galas, fleeting touches during formal receptions, whispers exchanged across marble halls. A love that existed between the lines of duty and expectation. "You know this can't last," Leonor said, her voice barely above the wind that rustled the autumn leaves. "Our paths are written. Our responsibilities are heavier than any heart can bear." Christian stopped and turned to her. "Paths can change," he said softly, his gaze steady. "Even for us." She looked up at him, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Not for us," she said, almost as if saying it aloud would make it real. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Then let me believe they can," he murmured. "Even if it's only for tonight." The gardens fell silent again, save for the distant call of a nightingale. Every moment was stretched thin, delicate, precious, fragile. They came to a small stone archway, where the palace fountains cast gentle ripples on the reflecting pool. Christian paused. From his pocket, he produced a small velvet box. Inside, a pendant gleamed softly in the fading light. A golden compass, etched with their initials, L and C. "It's not much," he admitted, "but whenever you feel lost, remember, we're looking at the same stars." Leonor's hand shook as she accepted it. "Christian," her voice broke, choked with emotion. He placed his hand over hers. "Keep it," he urged. "Even if everything else fades, keep this. Let it be ours." For a long moment, they simply stood there. No words could capture what was felt between them. The sun had set completely now, leaving the palace bathed in silver moonlight. And then, finally, she whispered, "I wish we had more time." Christian's smile was tinged with sorrow. "Time has never been kind to royals," he replied. A single tear slipped down her cheek. Without hesitation, Christian lifted his thumb to gently brush it away. His touch lingered, tender, reverent, filled with a depth of feeling words could not express. They both knew the world outside would never understand this moment. The cameras would capture only polite smiles, bows, and the distant glint of jewels. But this was theirs. A brief sanctuary of humanity within lives dictated by tradition. At last, the inevitable came. The palace doors would not stay closed forever. Leonor stepped back, clutching the pendant to her chest. "Goodbye," she whispered, her voice trembling. Christian's gaze softened, holding hers one last time. "No, not goodbye. Just, until next time." He bowed slightly, a gesture that was as much about respect as it was about restrained love. She curtsied in return, lips quivering, and then he turned, walking slowly toward the shadows of the palace walls. Each step echoed like a heartbeat, until he disappeared from sight. Leonor remained standing, clutching the compass. The weight of the moment pressed down, yet within it was a strange clarity, a reminder that love, however fleeting, leaves its mark on the soul. When she boarded the royal motorcade to depart for her academy, cameras captured her composed expression. Few saw the glimmer of tears in her eyes or the tight grip on the pendant hidden beneath her coat. Across Europe, the press speculated. A secret farewell, a royal romance in Madrid. But no words could ever fully convey what had transpired. Meanwhile, in Copenhagen, Christian watched the same footage from his study. He reached into his pocket, where the pendant's twin had remained, and whispered quietly to himself, "Until next time." The days that followed were a blur of duty and expectation. Leonor trained rigorously, attending drills, lectures, and state appearances. Christian returned to Copenhagen, fulfilling his royal engagements with unwavering composure. Yet in the quiet moments, when the world was asleep, their thoughts returned to that garden, to that single evening where time had bent to accommodate their hearts. Weeks later, fate intervened. A European summit in Brussels brought their paths together again. For the first time since the farewell, cameras and courtiers watched them reunite. Publicly, they greeted each other with royal composure, smiles, bows, and courteous handshakes. But beneath the formalities, the unspoken bond remained. Every glance, every slight shift in posture, conveyed recognition, longing, and the continuity of their secret connection. During a private reception that evening, Christian offered his hand once more. "May I?" he asked. Leonor hesitated for only a moment before taking it. The dance that followed was ceremonial, yet intimate. Every step was measured, yet each carried the weight of shared memories, unspoken promises, and hearts entwined in a delicate balance between duty and desire. When the music ended, Leonor whispered softly, "You kept your promise." Christian smiled, and for the first time in front of witnesses, he allowed himself a small laugh. "And I always will." Though the public would never fully understand their connection, those who observed closely saw the signs, the quiet attention, the mutual respect, the gestures of protection and care that transcended protocol. Their love, hidden yet visible, had grown stronger through the months of distance and obligation. And so, their story continued, a quiet flame burning against the constraints of monarchy, a testament to the fact that even under the weight of crowns, the human heart finds its way. Because for Princess Leonor and Prince Christian, that tearful goodbye in the palace gardens was not an ending. It was the beginning of a bond that would shape their lives, guide their choices, and inspire a generation to believe that love can exist, even within the most structured of worlds. Crowns may define their destiny, but hearts define their humanity. And in the moonlit gardens of Madrid, two young heirs had proven that love, however fleeting, is eternal.